Hello everyone and welcome back to LewisNews, your #1 YouTube channel for all types of Spider-Man news. And in today's video, we are going to be talking about The Amazing Spider-Man 3 and Andrew Garfield coming out and talking about the film and potential story options going forward for his universe's version of Spider-Man. But before we get into that, if you're new around here, make sure you're subscribed because we cover all the news quickly and concisely on this channel. But without the way, let's get straight into this. So Andrew Garfield did come out in an interview and talk about The Amazing Spider-Man 3, or more generally, the future of his Spider-Man in the webverse. And he came out and said, "The story never ends. Whether we film it or not, there's a story happening in a universe somewhere. There's endless potential with this character and other iterations." So yeah, he's definitely out there doing something. And I think this is really interesting because Andrew Garfield understands that The Amazing Spider-Man 3 and the stories for his version of Spider-Man are definitely out there. I'd say in terms of the untapped potential of all three live-action Spider-Men that we've had, Andrew Garfield is the most. Tom Holland, we've had a trilogy. His ending was pretty satisfying. The same with Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, who got 3 full films. Andrew Garfield only got 2 films, one of them being very, very mediocre, to the point where the character definitely wasn't handled as best as he could. So The Amazing Spider-Man 3, out of all of the Spider-Men, is probably the film that you'd want to give to the character the most. And personally, I do agree with him. Whether they do film it or not, as he did say, the story is happening out there somewhere. But I just want to focus on the first bit that he said. He said the story never ends, whether we film it or not. So that means that Andrew Garfield is saying that there is a chance that they could go and film The Amazing Spider-Man 3, and he's not completely clocked out of that idea. And I really, really like that because this suggests maybe he's been in talks to play Spider-Man again. And I also want to point out that just because he says whether we film it or not doesn't mean The Amazing Spider-Man 3 specifically. That could potentially mean a crossover movie in Avengers Secret Wars, or maybe a crossover with the Venom movies. It could mean something else. Whether he says film or not doesn't mean The Amazing Spider-Man 3 specifically. I think it just means his story as Spider-Man, which I think is really, really interesting, and I think we should point out that very detail. But yeah, he goes on to say, like we did mention, that there is endless potential with the character and other iterations. So like I mentioned, there is endless potential because he has the most potential. The Amazing Spider-Man 3 could deal with the death of Gwen Stacy, could deal with MJ getting introduced, could deal with Black Cat, it could deal with a variety of different things, maybe even the Sinister Six. So there's a bunch of different things that The Amazing Spider-Man 3 or the future of Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man could be that haven't been explored, but is perfectly set up to explore in potentially a TASM 3 or a future version of that character. Does this mean in any sort of way that we are any closer to having an Amazing Spider-Man 3? I think so, yeah. I think if Andrew Garfield is willing to talk about it, I think if Andrew Garfield is willing to come out and say, yeah, you know, I love this character. And I think the more that Andrew Garfield says about how much he loves Spider-Man and how much he loves his version of the character, I think we're always going to be closer to The Amazing Spider-Man 3 than if he didn't say that. Because that shows the fans, it shows Sony, and it shows all the studio execs, and it shows, you know, everyone involved with the creative process and at the studio that, you know, the fans want this, Andrew Garfield would want this, and I think it would really, really work. So yeah, I don't doubt that, you know, they are discussing plans for The Amazing Spider-Man 3, especially after his appearance in No Way Home. I think they definitely are discussing plans for The Amazing Spider-Man 3. It's just whether they come to fruition or not. Whether it will happen, who knows? Either way, I definitely think that TASM 3 is more likely than Spider-Man 4, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man 4, that's for sure. I'm very confident on that one. But yeah, either way, thank you guys for watching this video. If you did enjoy, make sure to like on it, and also make sure to subscribe if you are new around here. Like I mentioned at the start of the video, we cover everything from the games, movies, and the shows when it comes to Spider-Man. Literally everything. If you want to stay in the loop with quick and precise news, then make sure you are subscribed. With that being said, thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care, and peace.